Tonight on CTV News, the voices of Aranui residents are heard. Are solar panels really that good to save power? We take a look. And the boss of Environment Canterbury fronts up over its long-term plan.
Broadcasting across Canterbury, from the CTV studio, this is First at 5.
Good evening. Police are praising motorists for a low Easter road toll. One person died on Canterbury roads, but police say it's still one too many.
With thousands of Cantabrians heading away for the weekend, the roads were bound to be clogged with motorists. However, with just one death, this is the second lowest road toll on record for Easter, with only 2012 zero deaths surpassing it. 5 people died on the roads last year, another 3 were killed in 2013. Police are thanking road users for making it a safer Easter weekend on the roads. Road Policing National Operations Manager, Inspector Peter McKinney, says while the one death recorded is a tragedy, it's heartening that no other families have been left grieving this Easter. Over the long weekend, police targeted high-risk driver behaviour, including drink and drug driving, speeding and failing to wear safety belts. In addition to breath testing and other high-visibility policing tactics, police enforced a reduced 4 km/h speed threshold, as it had done so for every other long holiday weekend since Queen's birthday in 2010. Inspector McKinney says it's pleasing road users seem to be getting the road safety message. He says the challenge now is to keep that momentum going throughout the rest of the year, making it a record low road toll for all of 2015.
Police have spent the day trying to recover the body of a kayaker missing in Lake Coleridge. The man was seen falling out of his kayak on Saturday afternoon and disappeared from the surface. Emergency crews were unable to locate him. The 20-year-old was a trainee soldier but was kayaking for recreational purposes. They've been crying out for more and better social housing, and now it seems the voices of Aranui residents might have been heard.
Housing New Zealand has reached a compromise with its Aranui social housing stakeholders. Last year, community groups opposed the ministry's post-earthquake housing rebuild designs, saying the higher density designs didn't take into account the community's needs. A series of consultations later, Housing New Zealand is now making some changes to its new housing stock, including more standalone homes, more garages, better security and more driveways. However, the increase in driveways in single-storied houses mean there'll be less green space. The original plans proposed up to 79 new 2-storey adjoining houses across 5 sites near Wainoni Park with no garages. Demolition of the last of the existing homes on these sites is expected to finish by mid-April, and construction has already begun on the first site. Housing New Zealand continues building other new homes on standalone sites in Aranui and says it has completed 300 of the 337 properties needing repair in the area.
With winter just around the corner, you can bet the power companies will do what they normally do before the cold season, raise their prices. So now some residents are finding new ways to combat ever-increasing power bills thanks to sunlight. But is it worth it?
Another way to get an everyday necessity. There's a new addition to this household in Christchurch with the installation of a new solar power system. 10 panels are being put up at this St Albans house, but what makes it different is it wasn't bought as a one-off payment, with this property being the first to go prepay. And the chief executive says it gives people more options for those wanting to go green.
This is a huge step forward in terms of power use and utilisation for Canterbury. It allows the whole region now to make a statement about a commitment to climate change and reducing our impact on the environment, and looks in more affordable prices for power longer term.
When you think of electricity sources in Canterbury, you may think of something as big as a hydro dam, but here the power comes straight from your roof, and he says it makes sense in terms of cost.
It's a much more economic way to install solar is to install solar on someone's home, because you generate the power exactly where you need it at the moment you need it.
It's the first house in Canterbury to get the panels connected and run off this system, similar to other power companies around the country, except they're going solar. And he says it's easier for residents to take up the solar aspect, saying buying the system upfront can be too expensive.
85% of New Zealanders want to go solar but can't afford. The upfront capital cost is just too high. With Solar Zero and this particular program, you can get cheaper power today rather than investing upfront in prepaying power for the next 10 to 15 years.
However, a recent study from Otago University shows people choosing to use solar power is on the up as installation costs come down. And the Sustainable Energy Association of New Zealand believes the cost of installing a solar panel system is becoming more available to everyone rather than the wealthier communities, meaning more of these systems will be put up. But Booth says it still isn't affordable for all.
It's really up to the homeowner in terms of their budget and what they can afford at a particular moment in time. Many families can't afford $10,000 or $15,000 for a system, so it's far better for them to lock in an affordable price today.
But choosing this system doesn't give full power coverage. At this stage, the panels can only be used throughout the day, meaning they'll have to go back on the grid during the evening and still pay 2 power bills. And Booth says it comes down to the price of battery storage.
Right now, solar can meet your daytime power needs. Over the next 3 to 5 years, battery storage will become far more economic than it is today, and that will allow you to lock in a fairer price for solar-generated power across the day.
It'll be some time yet until these panels can be used as a main source, with batteries expected to be available by the end of the year. So it's not solo for solar just yet. Jared McCulloch, CTV News.
Economic development in Ashburton continues to increase, and this time a large 18-hectare industrial park has opened. And one of its first tenants is a company which makes infant formula out of goat milk. It's a growth commodity in China, and the company has big hopes for the products back home.
Cows are out and goats are in. It's a step forward for the Canterbury region, with overseas shareholders purchasing land to develop an infant formula factory in the Ashburton Business Estate. The facility will be housed in the industrial hub, but cows won't have anything to do with this facility, with goat's milk being the main source of ingredient. The lot was sold to the New Zealand Dairy Collaborative Group, but Chinese company Fine Boon has a larger share in the company and is the largest brand for goat infant formula in China. Goat farming is a big operation in the North Island, but Ashburton Mayor Angus Mackay hopes farming of this type will take off in mid-Canterbury. The facility will see 1,500 cans of goat infant formula being produced every hour, but the product won't be in New Zealand's hands for long, with it being shipped back to China for consumers there. So with dairy prices on the slow, maybe this could be a winning formula for the future. The next step is to get a building design together, with construction likely to take place in the next few months.
Well, it seems like a distant memory, doesn't it, the general election? How have your local MPs actually been performing? Reporter Marcus Gibbs decided to take the pulse of Cantabrians on what they think of their MPs. First up tonight, we head to Avonhead.
120 members of Parliament representing New Zealanders and making decisions on our behalves. Politicians. Every 3 years we choose who we want to represent us. But in Christchurch, just how well are they performing? CTV News quizzed the constituents of Nationals Jerry Brownlee and Labour's Megan Woods about their representatives.
I can't say on camera.
Not sure how effective he is, but he certainly does have a bit of a name.
Never seen her.
Really?
Yes, someone Woods, isn't it?
She's always getting noticed and, she's prominent.
See him on the news for a bit, but that's about all.
I don't even know her, and I don't or him. I never see them. So they're not very good, are they?
It wasn't long before I met Jerry Brownlee's biggest fan.
Love them to bits.
As Canterbury's earthquake recovery minister, he's at the forefront of the rebuild and has a large presence in the city, one that hasn't gone unnoticed by Trish.
And he's always good. He does what you ask him to do, and he's behind the rebuilding Christchurch well and truly, no matter what other people think.
The Avonhead resident has been swept off her feet by his work in the community.
He's always consistent as far as I'm concerned, and he takes all the knocks that he gets on the chin fairly and squarely. Nothing phases him, and that's what we want from an MP.
Only one person had a few words of advice for the MPs.
Probably take on board what other people's opinions are and actually give them more credit, I suppose.
Other than needing to show their faces more in their local community, Megan Woods and Jerry Brownlee seem to be doing okay in the eyes of the people of Avonhead. Marcus Gibbs, CTV News.
So to come here on CTV News, ECAN Commissioner David Bedford joins me to discuss the Council's future plans.
Kids television is right here on CTV. Tune in every Saturday from 7 a.m. to 8 a.m. for an exciting range of fantastic kids programming. Join in with all the fun Saturday mornings from 7 a.m. to 8 a.m. on CTV.
At Bowden Environmental, we specialise in all aspects of resource management, so you don't have to deal with the paperwork. With the skills and knowledge to organise any environmental work, we can guide you through the process from start to finish. From organising consents and farm environmental plans to pump and well testing, Bowden Environmental has it covered. Save time and remove the stress. See the specialist. Bowden Environmental. Computer not working? Replace or repair. DIY or get a technician. Looking for parts? Thinking of upgrading? Need accessories? You've got questions, we've got answers. Global PC.
Come on down to Ferrymead Golf. Care for a game of paintball? How about some swings on the old driving range? Or on our par 3 9-hole golf course? Test your skills on the mini golf course or have a go at the airgun shooting range. Then relax at the Wow Cafe with one of our super succulent Wow Burgers. Whether you want to perfect your swing or are looking for a fun family day out, come down to Ferrymead Golf, 50 Ferrymead Park Drive, right next to the Ferrymead Heritage Park.
Arts 21 showcases the vast creative talent and minds that are making a name for themselves in Europe and beyond. Think outside the square with Arts 21.
Welcome back to CTV News. Well, as residents, you've got one more week to have your say on Environment Canterbury's long-term plan. Air quality, water rights, Christchurch's bus fares, they're all up for discussion. And joining me tonight is ECAN Commissioner David Bedford. Good to see you, David. Thanks for coming in. The long-term plan, only 1 week to go. It's quite important stuff. First thing that comes to mind is probably the plan for air quality, wouldn't it?
Yeah, the long-term plan sort of proposes the funding for the air program that we've got set out in our air strategy for the next 10 years, really, and it's one of the areas where we're looking to fund some bigger projects aimed at improving air quality in the 7 towns around Canterbury that are considered to be polluted at the moment.
You've got some pretty, well, they're okay targets, aren't they really? According to health guidelines, they meet international guidelines, don't they? The targets, that is, that you're trying to get to?
Yeah. The targets are set are based on recommendations from the World Health Organization, and they've been in place now for a number of years. They're pretty well tested, and I think even though there's a few challenges along the way, certainly the target for 2020 I think can be achieved.
Talk to me about water, because that's obviously a big discussion at the moment, both for farmers and politically. What's in the long-term plan when it comes to water?
Well, we were charged as commissioners with implementing the Canterbury Water Management Strategy, which had been developed over the previous sort of 10 years and was really owned by the Mayoral Forum. And so we've set about doing that through the zone committees that we've set up in the 10 zones around Canterbury. And each of those zone committees are made up of interested members of the public, and they come up with programs for their catchments that basically will deliver the targets that are required both nationally and regionally for water quality. And so it's been our big challenge, and we've made some good progress on it. And again, in the long-term plan, there is a request for additional funding to help sort of put into practice a lot of the planning that's been done over the last few years.
Always a request for additional funding, isn't there?
Yeah. Look, I think I'd really, for me, the long-term plan is an opportunity for the ratepayers of Canterbury to have their say on what we're proposing to do. And we put a lot of effort in working with the staff at ECAN to come up with a proposal that we think makes sense. But at the end of the day, there's about 200,000 households around Canterbury who should have received a copy of our consultation document. And the request that they make submissions is not an idle request. I mean, it's really important they do make submissions, because it's their chance to actually have an input into the program of work that ECAN carries out for the next 3 years and longer.
Absolutely. What's been the response been like so far from residents? Are they engaging in the consultation process, or are they just moaning on press websites like they normally do?
The last update I have had from our staff on the numbers of submissions is it's pretty small. It's about 150.
Is that all?
That was up until after Thursday before Easter. And I mean, it'd be great if we had a lot more, because this is, I mean, the long-term plan consultation document that we put out this year, this is the first time we've actually published a document and posted out to every home in Canterbury.
Yeah.
Up until this year, prior to change in the Local Government Act, basically, if you wanted to have an input into the long-term plan, you had to go to a library or to our office or go online and get a copy of it. And it was a big, fat document that was hard to navigate. This year, we've put out this consultation document, which summarises, you know, in 20-odd pages, our work program for the next 3 to 10 years. And it was done that way so that it provided an opportunity for members of the public, for ratepayers, to engage in a more easy way. So I'm really keen to see that 150 increase somewhat.
Well, yeah. I mean, as I always say on this program, it's all very well to moan on, you know, the stuff blogs and anonymously, but if you want change or you're not happy, then, you know, how about you actually fill out a submission? They can be lazy though, that's for sure.
Yep.
Just finally, a rate increase. This is another rate increase. This is on top of the council's rate increase. The proposal for that is how much again?
The average across the whole of Canterbury is about 4.5%. Of that, I think about 0.6% is made up of a general rate, and the balance, which is in fact a 6.7% increase in targeted rates, relates to the fact that we're targeting air quality and we're targeting water management. So, you know, 4.5%, we understand that on top of what people in Christchurch are having to pay in particular, it's an increase, but we've tried very hard to prioritise what we think is important, to cut back on certain things that we don't think are priorities. But most importantly, I mean, if we get submissions you know, from the community which indicate we should think about it differently, well, we'll listen to those.
Well, so we can beat the target of 150 so far. David Bevan, nice to see you, and thank you so much for coming into the program tonight.
Okay, that's great.
We'll sort of come here on CTV News, the weekend sports roundup and your region's weather.
With all the latest innovations in the world of technology, Shift has everything you need to stay informed and in the know. Shift, 2:15 on Monday, right here on CTV.
Opus is recreating the heart of Canterbury. From large-scale projects to commercial buildings. Your design, your vision. Opus.
In your life. Colour Steel, the roof of New Zealand.
Diversity. No deposit. Instant finance. Convenience. Open 7 days. Austin Motor Company.
Drive It showcases the new arrivals to the motoring world, comparing and testing the latest models to discover which one is the best.
Drive It, Sunday afternoons at 2:30, only on CTV.
Welcome back to CTV News. If you have a news item or a news story you think our newsroom needs to know about, always get in touch with them by email. The email address is news@ctv.co.nz, and don't forget this broadcast repeats at 6:30 and 9:30 right here on CTV and ctv.co.nz. Well, now here's Gordon with the weekend sports roundup.
The Canterbury Rams started their national basketball season with mixed results over the long weekend. The Rams got their campaign off to the perfect start on Good Friday at Cal Stadium with an emphatic 114-98 win over the Manawatu Jets. The opening round win also saw new coach Mark Dickel get his tenure off to a flying start, with the Rams' offence impressing as last year's Rookie of the Year Richie Edwards top scored with 24 points. The team were then grounded yesterday after they found themselves on the receiving end of a 120-91 thrashing at the hands of the Wellington Saints. The Rams were guilty of giving up second chance opportunities to the home side and were punished by the Saints' strong distance shooting, with 48 of their 120 points coming from beyond the arc. The Rams' next match is against the Southland Sharks on Friday. The four-day Plunket Shield Trophy will spend another 12 months in Canterbury, with our cricketers successfully defending their title. The side went into their last match against Northern Districts with a win guaranteed to be enough to defend the title. After Northern grabbed first innings points and held a lead of 43, it was then Canterbury bowler Ed Nuttall that produced a master spell, grabbing 6 wickets as the team ripped through Northern, dismissing the hosts for 101 in their second innings. The Canterbury batters then made easy work of the run chase, with captain Peter Fulton smashing a quick-fire 91 from 53 deliveries as Canterbury took out the match by 9 wickets and became the first side since Auckland in 2002-2003 to win consecutive Plunket Shield titles. The title was the icing on the cake for Canterbury cricket, who in the last week had bowler Matt Henry named in the Test side to tour England, joining fellow Cantab Tom Latham, while Canterbury's Andrew Ellis and Amy Satterthwaite were named the Men's and Women's Domestic Cricketers of the Year at the New Zealand Cricket Awards. Well, records fell at Horncastle Arena last night, but it was for all the wrong reasons as far as mainland tactics fans will be concerned. The Southern Steel scored 84 goals on the night, breaking the competition's previous record of 80, with Jamaican international Janella Fowler-Reid, chief destroyer, netting 58 times, the same number of goals the Tactics managed in total, before she was rested midway through the final quarter. The Tactics were never able to get themselves into the game, losing all 4 quarters by considerable margins, as the Steel seemed to find their imposing goal shooter with relative ease. And finally tonight, Jean Dassel grabbed the headlines for a second year in a row when the Crusaders met the Sharks in Durban. The forward was red carded in the fixture for the second year in a row after being carded for kneeing. The Sharks were unable to defy the odds and overcome the Crusaders a man short like they did at AMI Stadium last year though, as the Crusaders crushed the home side in a dominant 52-10 win. The Crusaders had already grabbed 4 tries before Dassel saw red, while they also had to deal with being short in numbers themselves, with 3 yellow cards in quick succession, seeing the Crusaders playing with 12 men at one stage of the match. The win is the Crusaders' largest in Durban since the inception of Super Rugby, with the side's bonus point win now moving them into the top 6 playoff positions. You're up to date with the latest in local sport. I'm Gordon Finlater for CTV Sport.
Thanks, Gordon. Now time for the region's weather.
Hello Canterbury, I hope you've had a great long weekend. Let's take a look at today's highs. Timaru, Temuka and Geraldine, you're all on 25 degrees. Ashburton and Methven, a very similar picture for you, 25. Rakaia, 25 also. Darfield, Leeston and Rolleston, you are all sharing 25 degrees today. Lincoln and Christchurch, 25 for you. Over in Akaroa today, you are on a slightly warmer temperature today on 26. Further north, Kaiapoi, Rangiora and Amberley, all on 26 degrees. Culverden, Hamner Springs and Cheviot, you took out the region's high today on 27. Kaikoura, slightly cooler on 26 degrees. Let's take a look at tomorrow's weather now. Timaru, a fine day in store for you with some sunny periods at first, and the high cloud will increase later on in the day. It should be quite mild with light northerly winds. Tonight's low is 15, your high tomorrow 21 degrees.
I'm thinking out loud, maybe we found love right.
To Ashburton now, plenty of sunshine at first, but that high cloud will creep in during the day and the temperatures will become mild. Your overnight low tonight is 15, tomorrow's high 21.
And the crowds don't remember my name. When my hands
Northeasterly winds will be on the cards for Christchurch at first, then they'll turn northwesterly during the afternoon, but it should be a fine and mild day with just some high cloud. Tonight's low is 15, tomorrow's high 22 degrees.
oh, it's evergreen.
There'll be plenty of warmth and sunshine for Kaikoura tomorrow with some northeasterly winds. Your overnight low tonight is 15, tomorrow's high 23 degrees.
I'm thinking about how people fall in love in mysterious.
Let's take a look at the other areas around the region now. Temuka and Geraldine, fine at first, that cloud will come through later on, 21. Methven and Rakaia, very similar picture, fine, some cloud, 21 degrees. Darfield, Leeston, Rolleston and Lincoln all have some fine weather tomorrow. That cloud will come through later on, also 21. Over in Akaroa tomorrow, it'll be fine at first with some cloud coming through later on in the afternoon. 22, your expected high. As for Kaiapoi, Rangiora and Amberley, fine at first, then some cloud later on 22.
Place your head on my beating
Culverden, Hamner Springs and Cheviot, a very similar picture to you also. You'll be on 22 degrees, fine and some cloud later on.
found love right where.
Looking ahead for Canterbury now, cloudy and cool for Thursday with some breezy northeasterly winds and some rain at times during the evening. As for Friday, it'll be cloudy and cold with a few light showers, and then expect some fresh southwesterly winds. Taking a look at the weekend ahead, there'll be some southwesterly winds dying out on Saturday and some northeasterly winds developing. Those skies will remain cloudy and there should be some cool temperatures. And the sun will be around for Sunday with some nice pleasant temperatures expected and high cloud and just some northerly winds. But for now, that is your weather for Tuesday.
Kiss me under the light of 1,000.
And that is CTV News for Tuesday. Have a great evening.
Supporting local content so you can see more of New Zealand on air.